Welcome back to the Beyond Packaging podcast. We are live from Spec Summit. I'm your host, Laura Foti.
Matthew Wright still here and very intimidated by our guest today.
Oh, we have an amazing guest. He is someone you all know and love, Cory Connors, host of the Sustainable Packaging Podcast. Cory, welcome back.
Thank you so much. My honor.
It's always so great to be here with you. A lot's changed since we've last had you on the podcast.
Yep.
You have a new role. You've been in the packaging industry for a long time. Tell us about this next step. It feels like a big one.
Yeah, it's with Atlantic Packaging. I'm the host of the Sustainable Packaging Podcast, as you mentioned, and it's now presented by Atlantic Packaging, which I'm honored, and they've really supported that journey, which is exciting. And I'm also in sales and marketing there, which is what I love, as you know. And I think Atlantic Packaging is one of the key companies in the world of packaging right now for sustainability, and that's why I was so excited to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew and I were fortunate enough to visit their solution
Yeah, Solution Center in Charlotte.
in
Yep.
Charlotte. We went there and I was amazed by the technology.
Mhm.
And they are really Matthew talks about some packaging companies are a little late to technology.
Right.
They definitely feel like they're ahead of the game. Matthew, I'm curious your thoughts when we met with the team.
Yeah, no, and I've taught Cory over time, and no, it's a phenomenal company. It's a great partner, Spec Rights, and I think it's a perfect home for you, Cory. I think they get what you do and the value of what you do for them and for the industry, and so I think it's a perfect marriage.
Thank you, sir.
Lastly, I think they really opened my eyes to how you could have amazing packaging that's sustainable.
Right.
When we walked through, I remember there were snack bags and they looked great.
Right.
And they were like, yeah, but this is, 40% more sustainable. And I'm like, wow, you don't have to sacrifice
Still looks good.
the performance for the material. Cory, you've been to many spec summits. How many have you been to exactly?
I think this is my fifth. I was trying to do that research in my head, and they just keep getting better. It's so fun.
Oh, wow. So you're a summit veteran. I know we go to a lot of conferences. Sometimes it can feel like, it's the same old, same old. How has the program this year been?
I think it's better every year, and I commend you and the team for arranging this. It just feels more inviting, more friendly, more opportunities to meet people. I think that's you've got it down, and you just continue to improve, and that's I commend you and your team for that.
Oh, thanks. They've done a great job. We've had some amazing speakers this year, and it's folks solving real dynamic problems. We just heard from Joe Hunter and Amazon
Mm-hmm.
doing some really innovative things with supplier collaboration and reporting and the ease of which he's marrying sales data and packaging data. It's so cool to see the real success stories and also the real challenges that people talk through as well. So I think that's a lot of the value in addition to the networking. What would you say to someone who may be thinking about attending Spec Summit next year?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear Joe talk about Amazon using spreadsheets still. And that was very recently. And how you at SpecRite were able to convert them over to a highly technical platform that is searchable and AI driven. And I think that's what's really exciting about this event. And I think that people need to understand it's not too late. You still got time, but it's starting to get very, very late. It's starting to get late. And so there's a sense of urgency. So my encouragement is do it now, do it as soon as possible, reach out to SpecRite and the team to start your journey.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Christy from Mesa, and she said, "Oh, I wish we had come here before we bought SpecRite because I would have." And I'm like, "Wow, I never thought about that."
Mhm.
If you're like, "Wow, I have this spec problem," that's the time to come to Spec Summit. It's not once you're already on the journey to fixing it.
Yeah, I talked to a few customers this morning, and they're like, one of the things I wish I would have brought this person, or I wish I would have brought that person. And so I think one thing for companies is to think hard before coming to Summit.
Right.
Who's in totality do you want to come here? Laura, I thought you were going to talk about that great panel that we just saw up there on the stage, but we
Yeah,
can skip
we
past
should
that
talk about
part.
that.
No, you should talk about the panel. What were some of your highlights?
No, we had a great panel, a bunch of box nerds, and so Cory was on it with me, and Ryan and Victoria and John Blake, and so we just talked about the adaptation of technology and the challenges that organizations are seeing, and then ultimately kind of where do we see the world going. And I think we all, I believe Cory felt excited, challenged, but excited about what's to come.
Yeah, well said. It's exciting to be with our fellow packaging nerds. It makes you feel like you're doing the right things, and you're not so weird. People are passionate about packaging and sustainability, and I think this is the place to be like that.
But if you think about the panel, one thing I don't think we talked about in the panel, but it's probably was reality is look at the innovators. Cory has the first podcast on packaging, which is amazing. We also had Ryan, who's taken a whole new level to Bloomberg with packaging. John, who's taken packaging to Gartner. Victoria, who's working on some other new projects. So it's really a panel of innovators.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, I know we talked to a lot of university professors and everyone's excited for the next generation. What are the young ones going to do? And there's a lot of veterans changing the game. And I think it's important to recognize it, right? And it's that marrying of tenure and experience with innovation and new ideas that really is where the magic happens. You're both jet setters. You got back from Paris Packaging Week. What was exciting from the show? What were some of your takeaways, maybe from a more global lens?
Yeah, I think the conversation is changing from we're planning to do this to implementation and moving towards PPWR, EPR, being ready for that, and implementing. How do we report? How do we handle that today and not in 6 months we need to, or a year we need to? I think that's exciting to see that the companies are finally embracing it. I feel like we've been talking about this for so many years, and finally people are saying, okay, it's time.
Yeah, I think there's two things that really struck me. And I'm also having withdrawals from the French baguettes, by the way.
They're so good.
I think I ate 20 of them. But I think past it, two things that really struck me was really in the different issues. One is the awareness level, the maturity level of the discussions is probably where the U.S. will be in a year or two. It was just a different kind of dialogue. That said, which was interesting on the other side, is they're still not ready. So it's an interesting thing where they have this high readiness, but still need to find the solution to become ready, if that makes sense. So I think it was really eye-opening for me. We all know they're probably more progressed, but in theory, that's true, but they still have a lot of execution to be done.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a prediction. Maybe it's a little against the grain and a little contrarian. I agree with you, Matthew. I do think Europe especially is far ahead in terms of regulations, but I think the US will start to make more progress quickly because of the state complexity and companies needing to really nail that because it's simply not scalable to do it with 50 states. In Europe, so dozens of countries, right? I think the scale of the challenge in the US is actually going to make companies adopt this faster. So I'm hoping we'll catch up. I do think we're behind, but that's maybe a prediction. We'll see how I do.
Well, the little thing I saw, Cory, you probably saw too different than Pack Expo is we have beer gardens at Pack Expo and then champagne lounges.
That's
Paris,
right.
So
very highfalutin. Yes.
Well, maybe next year I need to go to Paris Packaging Week.
Yes, you do.
Cory, you talk to sustainability leaders every week. What themes are coming up over and over again in 2026 so far?
Yeah, I think there's still confusion. I think there's still fear. These laws keep changing. These EPR laws, extended producer responsibility, it's driving people nuts, and because it just continues to change. I think that's where Spec, Wright, and Lorax come in and just solve the problem. And that's what I would tell them, and they'd be thrilled. So I think what you're providing is a stress reduction, a cost savings, and I think an employment reduction possibly, because people are hiring people to do this. Maybe they don't need to.
What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, no, I think it's the time is really interesting. We just had conversation about the next generation coming in and the challenges. You just talked about the industry experts. I think it's differentiating those that are going to operate in the world today and do it efficiently, and those that are just going to keep being challenged and doing that. To Cory's last point, I think that also means just a clunky over populated solutioning versus streamlined. And I just see there's a night and day difference between companies' reactions.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. As a business leader, are people just going to start baking fines into their budget,
Right.
which seems kind of crazy that you would have hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, set aside to pay fines, or you can start getting your data in order to then accurately report so you're not paying more than you need to, or so you can start to do eco-modulation and understand where your problem children are, right? So often it's the 80-20 rule of, 20% of your packaging is probably driving 80% of your challenges, but you don't know if you don't have the data.
I think, and I agree with you. I think historically that's sometimes how industry addressed issues, which was putting set-asides, for those issues. I think the difference today is going to be is the consumer.
Yeah.
The consumer is not putting up with anything. The minute something's realized, it's called out. Companies can be isolated quickly. So I think this is not only a financial issue, it's a consumer buying issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Cory, from your perspective, what separates the companies that are truly operationalizing sustainable packaging from those that are experimenting?
Yeah. Like you were saying, the wait and see approach isn't going to work anymore. And the head in the sand idea of, we'll just pay the fines. It doesn't matter. It's not going to work. And I think a lot of people are going to be, harsh reality is going to set in of what this is going to cost. How much? I gave the example on stage of the meeting with the customer is $3 million. We did the math for them on the call if they didn't change their packaging. And they said, what? And this is a large company. And we thought to ourselves, wow, this isn't uncommon that people don't know.
Right.
They don't know yet. And we feel like it's our job at Atlantic to educate them and to say, hey, we can help, but you got to start moving some things right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I remember, gosh, years ago as a consumer when packaging sustainability was really just emerging, I would say from more of like the marketing angle, you would see stuff that you're like, this looks terrible. You know what I mean? Like this is clearly sustainable because it looks sustainable.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
You're well said. It's starting to look very sharp and very, very polished. And it's exciting to see for me as somebody who's been talking about sustainability for years, that it looks cooler than the old style.
Yeah. It's funny. I got a package recently that had styrofoam peanuts and I did not know what to do with them. Swear to God. I was like, I haven't had I'm like, how is this still even happening?
Yeah.
How irresponsible of it is for someone to say. And then I'm pretty sure I disposed of it the wrong way. And it was just an icky situation. But thankfully, I feel like that stuff's on the decline and there's a lot more material, not just consumer facing, but from a transportation perspective as well. Cory, if you could leave the packaging industry with one challenge, something you would challenge the entire industry to do, what would it be?
Yeah, I think the short answer is do better. You can do better. You can with the help of others. And you don't have to do it on your own. I think that's the caveat is a lot of people are scared. Oh no, what do we do? This is nerve-wracking. Well, if you reach out to Atlantic Packaging, you reach out to Spec, Wright, you have these partners that can actually help you. You're going to accomplish so much very quickly. And so that's my sentiment.
Oh, I think that's great advice. It's something I think that I love the most about the packaging industry is by nature, it's highly collaborative.
Mhm.
You have to have great relationships with your suppliers. You have to have great relationships with your counterparts in marketing and product development. And so the more you lean into that with technology and with people who are innovating in the space, the more successful and the more progress we'll all make. That's great.
Let's make sure we say what's most exciting about Summit, and that's the live entertainment tonight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Great band, I'm sure.
So every summit we've got some great music. We always pick cities that have amazing culture and entertainment. We're in New Orleans. We usually do Nashville, Austin. We rotate between. They did have a special parade for us yesterday. Someone said it might have been Mardi Gras, but I'm not
No, that was
convinced.
Spec,
But
right.
Cory,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us, for being a friend of the pod and a friend of Spec, Wright. And we love the work that you're up to. So keep it up. And again, thanks for being here with us today.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Always my favorite section of the week, Off the Shelf with Matt Dingy. Look into the collection at MSU. Matt, what do we have for this week?
This week, good afternoon. We ventured actually to a contemporary package that we have in our collection, and it is the Native deodorant brand in a paperboard tube, essentially. And I actually have the old one here, but as you can notice, I'll just kind of hold it close. Obviously, a pretty obvious call out to 100% plastic free. And I just thought this was very interesting because the deodorant category is obviously traditional, using plastic and the ability to kind of use paperboard in that arena. So I'll hold up the old one, and these are the same net weights as far as the delivery of the stick. Try to do it here. And so you can see the size
Yep.
difference, obviously the recognition of one material versus another, the color scheme. So I just think this is a very interesting, as we've seen this trend emerging, but as we see it emerge across categories, a contemporary example of something that's in plastic that has made the transition, and you can kind of compare the side by side.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love it. It's what I call it, like it's a twofer, right? So you get the sustainability claim from the plastic to the fiber, and that's a whole one category. Then you have, the consolidated footprint of the product. And the tough part with the consumer is, we always think is bigger is better, right? And it's a challenge with the consumer base period. I mean, we all buy to some degree with that in mind, and yet here, like you just said, the net weights are similar. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're both 2.65 ounces, which at first I had to really look in and fine tune it, because as a consumer myself, I was like, oh, they made it smaller. Then I looked and it was the same declared weight. So yeah, it's very, very interesting how your eyes lead you to
a
sometimes.
misconception,
Yeah.
or
further. Right. Yeah.
Well, no, I love that trend, and that's going to be fun to watch going forward. And you showed samples several months ago of conversion of different materials, and then obviously the structures changes and size changes. And I think the challenge again with the consumer is getting the education up that, not only maybe doing something that's better, but you're buying the same amount. So you kind of get past that mental hurdle of wanting to buy this massive package that has half air or is not as filled up. Great sample as always. Love you to do a shout out to the collection.
Yeah, so the collection is New Product Works collection, comprised of physical samples of roughly 150,000 packages across the decades, the 50s until now, and across various products, beverage, food, pet, personal care, household, and really just a collection for you to go explore and get inspiration and data and use that to inform decisions in your business today.
Yeah, and having been there multiple times, I don't know how you have the ability to pick one sample. There's so much to be looked at, but love the segment, and thanks for your time, Matt.
Yep, take care.